if you want the cookie, eat the cookie.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a salad, eat the salad.
Mm-hmm.
The moment you tell yourself you cannot have something, you want it even more, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's human nature.
Hey, sweet mama. Welcome back to another episode of Mama Mindset. I'm your host and creator, Amy Cawthron. Thank you so much for joining me again today. If you've been listening in the past, welcome back. If this is your first time listening, you are in for a wonderful special treat. Today's expert guest is Belinda Mccall. She is a certified holistic nutritionist and an AADP board certified holistic health practitioner. I'm not going to lie, I had to read that from my piece of paper because I can't remember all of that, but she is amazing. Her holistic approach to women's health is inspiring, and she has these certifications, she has these qualifications, but beyond that, what we talk about today is her magazine. She is the founder of Woman Be Well magazine, and it's incredible. They also have the Woman Be Well website as well. So what we talk about is what is in this magazine, what does it entail, and how does it apply to us as women? Her approach to holistic health is incredibly approachable. That's one of the things that I love about this magazine is her approachability. So if you're sitting here thinking, I don't even know what holistic means, I don't know where to start on my wellness journey. When I start to Google this, I go down this ridiculous rabbit hole. This is a resource for you. The point of the magazine and her goal with the magazine is to have approachability and this simplistic approach for women to have the resources that they need to live a holistic, healthy life, to heal your body from within, which is what we talk about all the time on this podcast. We want to be our best selves in order to raise our children, in order to raise the future generation. But how do we do that? Belinda's magazine is the resource that we need in order to get additional tools in how to do that and knowledge. She interviews incredible guests that they have and spotlight women that they have in the magazine. And in today's episode, we talk about holistic approaches, what that means, how she got on this journey, how she came up with the idea to create a magazine. That's incredible. Who thinks of this idea to create a magazine? Well, Belinda did, and she took massive inspirational action to build this by herself. And one of the things that I talk about in the interview, and I'm just going to mention it here, is that I work really hard to bring you quality guests, and Belinda is no exception to that. I do quite a bit of research before I approve somebody to come on. And when I was looking through Belinda's Instagram page, it was like very quickly, I made the decision very quickly to have her come on the show because I love what she's saying. It really aligns with what we're trying to do here on the podcast. And I think the work that she's doing with the magazine is incredible. So grab a cozy beverage and join me in this conversational journey with Belinda. Hi, Belinda. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Amy. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm super excited to have you on and dive into this conversation and chat about everything you have going on. But before we get too deep into that, can you take a couple of minutes and introduce yourself to the audience, who you are and where you're at and what you're doing right now? Because I'm really excited for people to hear about this.
Sure. That's a lot of questions all in one.
I know.
But
ready, go.
Ready, set, go. So my name is Belinda Mccall. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist. And I'm the founder of womanbewell.com and Woman Be Well magazine. And B is with 2 E's, by the way, because a lot of folks are like, I don't see you. And I'm like, there's 2 E's in the B because the B is my nickname. So I
was wondering about that. I was going to ask you, what does the B come from? Okay. Middle name.
The
okay.
B stands for me.
Okay.
So I'm the founder of the website and digital magazine, Woman Be
Mhm.
Well magazine. And I stand for the informed, unique wellness of all women.
Mhm.
I'm very, very big on recognizing the fact that wellness looks different for every woman. So that is our mantra at Woman Be Well. And I support that in everything that I do, right? And in all of the content that I put out on Instagram and on the website and in the magazine, I am a huge supporter of supporting women in discovering what works for them and what doesn't work for them, right? Because what works for someone else might not work for you, but also knowing what doesn't work for you is just as important,
Mhm.
right? And so a lot of that is the basis for Woman Be Well, all of the
Mhm.
things that I do.
Mhm.
Um, and I like to start my story somewhere in the middle,
Okay.
right? Because
Okay.
folks ask me, okay, well, why did you decide to, create Woman Be Well? What's the story behind it?
Mhm.
So I start in the middle of my story, because in the middle of my story is when I was diagnosed with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome,
Mhm.
and I was dealing with infertility.
Okay.
Right, my husband and I were trying to have a family. We were very unsuccessful, and I was diagnosed with PCOS. Um, and when I was diagnosed, the primary concern, for as far as my doctor thought, was
Mhm.
infertility, right? But then I went home and I Googled the thing, like every woman would,
Yes.
because
Right.
I had never heard of PCOS
Wait, did you wait
at
till
that
you got
point.
home or did you do it in the car? Because I would get in my car and start Googling it.
I waited until I got home.
Good. Okay. Probably safer.
But yes, but so I went home and I Googled it, because my doctor only said, oh yeah, well, it's the number one cause of infertility in women. And I said, okay. And then I Googled it and found out that I was at increased risk for other diseases now, as far like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, endometrial cancer, right? Like all kinds of things that I did not want.
Mhm.
Right? I don't
Right.
want these
Right.
things. And also type 2 diabetes um, runs in my family, right? Not that it like
Mhm.
runs in my family, but a lot of my family members, they have type 2 diabetes,
Mhm.
or they are pre-diabetic,
Mhm.
right? And so I saw my family as, like, it was like looking into my own future,
Mhm.
where it was, if I continue to do the things that they do, if I continue to eat in the same way that they eat, and I have lack of movement the way that they do, um, I can expect a similar outcome. And then with the PCOS diagnosis, I knew that I was at an even greater risk.
Mhm.
So that's somewhere in the middle. And now, but back to the beginning, right?
Mhm.
So the reason why I knew that some of those factors were going to also affect um, my increased risk of developing type 2 diabetes and things like that is because my family is, I'm half Filipino, right?
Mhm.
So my mom is Filipino, and I grew up with my mom's parents, my grandparents, and so I have a lot of that Filipino cultural background. And a huge part of that is knowing the power of plants,
Mhm.
right? The
Mhm.
power of plants as medicine, and your food as medicine,
Mhm.
right? Because like back in the day, my grandma didn't have, all the pills in the world to take
Right.
to deal with whatever was going on, right?
Mhm.
They had natural remedies. And so I grew up knowing the power of plants and food, and how that affects your entire body.
Mhm.
And so that's why it made sense for me to start to study up on holistic nutrition, right? And so as a result of my diagnosis, I was like, okay, what can I do for myself to help to heal my body?
Mhm.
Right. Um, as far as food goes. But then as I was really getting into studying holistic nutrition, I really started to really dive more into things like mindset and how those things were affecting my choices, how it was affecting how I felt about myself, and how it was just reflecting in every single cell of my body, how I felt about myself.
Mhm.
And so after studying all of that, and my husband and I we were unsuccessful getting pregnant for about 4 years.
Mhm.
And then found out that both of my tubes were blocked. And so I was like, well, I got PCOS and I got blocked tubes, but at least now I know why we were really unsuccessful.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
so we ended up going through IVF. And now we have a beautiful 2.5-year-old son.
Two
So
and
that
a
was very
half.
successful.
Yay.
Yeah.
That's a
Oh
fun
yeah.
age. Yeah. That's
The
like a,
super fun age, right?
yeah. Yeah. It's a whirlwind age, but they're fun, but then they're not fun and
Yes.
they're frustrating. Yeah. 2.5. That's
Yes.
fun. Yeah.
And they ask for something, and then when you give it to them, they're like, no, 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 no.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Lily's 2.5. So she's like, me, like 15 times. I'm like, I need it once, girlfriend, just one time. Okay. Take a breath.
Yep. Super fun age.
Yeah.
I'm so blessed to have him.
Yes.
And I know that a lot of the things that I learned through education, but also just from growing up in having those traditional Filipino roots, and really working through a lot of my own mindset issues, and all of the holistic things that really got me to a place where I felt like I knew I could be the best mom ever,
Mhm.
right? Like I knew that I had healed a lot of the wounds that I had, internally, and it made it so that I could just show up for my son, and
Mhm.
know that I am giving him a good positive foundation because I have my own positive foundation.
Mhm.
And so all of that to say that everything that I learned and everything that has gotten me to this amazing place that I'm at right now in my own life, where I feel fierce. I
Mhm.
feel unstoppable. I feel like I can do anything in the world. This is a feeling that I think every woman in the world should have.
Mhm.
Every single one.
I agree. Yes.
Because we often we doubt our own powers. We we ignore our instincts. We let other people make us feel like we're unworthy. Um, and I think that has to stop.
Mhm.
And so, this is really at the heart of why I created Woman Be Well, because I think, as I said in the beginning, I stand for the unique, informed empowerment of the wellness of all women.
Mhm.
And so that's what it's about.
Yeah. I love that. I love that story so much. I love that you shared it. I mean, I don't love that story for you. I love that you're able to use that story. That probably came out bad and I didn't mean it to, but I love that you're able to share that story with us and help us all grow and understand. One of the things that I wanted to add about what you were saying is I feel like there's this view of women as weak right now, which is so frustrating because there's so many strong women and there's so many women out there that are advocating for strength in femininity and all of that. But for some reason, especially for moms specifically, I feel like there's this idea of weakness around it and softness in a sense. And yes, you can be soft and loving and caring. And that's one of the beauties of being female, but we're not weak. We're strong as heck. And
Mhm.
I'm with you. I'm totally in total alignment with you and like squashing that mindset and saying, no, I want to empower women to know that you are in charge of your life, whether you're a mother or not, whether you're working or not. And there is something within all of us. And so what you're doing on your end is very similar to what I'm doing. And it's empowering from within, right? And it's knowing that in order to be a mother and in order to be the best to live the best life you can, you have to take some time to focus on yourself. Like you have to focus on you in a very holistic way. So I'm in full support of what you're doing. So can you talk to me and the audience a little bit about the magazine and sort of your idea behind creating that? I mean, I know you've shared sort of your purpose, but how did that get going? I know the story, first of all, because we were chatting earlier and I was like, yes, we have to talk about this. So can you share with the audience a little bit about that story and how you started it? Because that's everybody's first question is like, well, why a magazine? Or how did you even get started on a magazine? Like, how do you even go about doing something like that?
Yep. So I started out creating Woman Be Well as a blog,
Mm-hmm.
right? Actually, almost 2 years ago. And so it started out as a blog where I was putting the information out there, right? Because there were so many things that I had learned and experienced. And I thought to myself, how come I didn't know this? Right? How come this information is not out there? And so it started out as a blog, and I just wanted to put the information out there so that women could start to understand some of the connections between like nutrition and movement and mindset, and how all of that deeply affects, your entire self.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what happened was, as I was looking at some other wellness websites, right? Because I was thinking to myself, okay, so what's my next move? What can I do to grow this
Mm-hmm.
and continue to make it beneficial to women? I was seeing that, some other sites, they had magazines, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh man, that would be so cool. If I could have a magazine like in like 3 years, that would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So then I went to bed that night. And when I woke up in the morning, I suddenly said to myself, what the heck am I waiting for?
Mm-hmm.
What am I waiting for? I have a graphic design background. I can design the heck out of a magazine and I can write some articles. And I was like, what am I waiting for?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was it. I decided, you know what? I'm going to make a magazine. And so the very first issue of the magazine, I wrote every single article in there. I designed the whole thing cover to cover. Um, and that was it. I launched it. I put it out there. I was like, you know what? I don't care if not one person reads it. I did it.
Yes.
I wanted to do it. I said I was going to do it, and damn it, I did it.
Yes.
And I was so very fortunate that that first issue of the magazine, I reached out to the CEO of Rasa. Her name is Lopa Vandermersch. I reached out to her because I had read her story, right, of how she started Rasa, her company, and all of the adversity that she faced and her challenges. And I thought, this is a very inspirational woman, and I would love to share her story with anyone who's going to read my magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And I reached out to her thinking, she has no idea who I am. I have
Right.
a non-existent magazine.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck am I doing? But I did it anyway.
Because you had
right?
nothing
I
to
was
lose.
scared.
You had, what
Right.
was the worst she was going to say? No. And I
Right.
fully believe a no is not a no. This is my stubbornness. I'm like, it's not really a no. It's really a not right now, but I'll get you someday.
Yeah. Yeah. So I reached out to her and I was blown away because she was like, yes, I would love to be interviewed for your magazine. And
Happy dance.
I just about lost it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I started
Yeah.
crying.
Yes.
I was laughing. I don't know what I was doing. So, she agreed to be a part of that first magazine. And ever since it came out, it's just been growing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's been growing and growing. And now we've had over 25 women contribute either articles or recipes or things like that to other issues of the magazine. And I have been so fortunate to be able to continue to interview some really inspirational women for the
Mm-hmm.
magazine. And so that's what I wanted to do. It was
Mm-hmm.
continuing to put the information out there, but not just the information anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've got some inspiration in there. And
Mm-hmm.
we've got delicious recipes too. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like this wonderful holistic magazine,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that was the point of it. And that's how it got started. I woke up one day and was like, you know what? I'm doing it.
Massive action. And I freaking love it. I'm so inspired by it. That's how I did my podcast, dude. That's seriously, I was like, I feel like I have a voice. I don't know who's going to listen, but if my goal was to help one. If I help one mom, if I help one sweet mama friend, that's it. Like I've accomplished my goal, and everything else after that would be bonus. But I was like, I have a voice. I know I want to say something, and people are just going to listen if they want and not if they don't, and I
Yeah.
just took massive action, and I'm so proud of you. So congratulations on that, by the way, because that is
Thank
so
you.
brave. And you were already doing the writing with your blog. I mean, it just took the confidence and a night's sleep, literally, for you to just be like, wait, but I can do this. Like, I already have all the skills to do it. Everything in your, did you feel at some point like, okay, everything in my life has kind of led up to this. Everything that I've learned, every experience, every moment has led up to this. And this is something that's calling me. So why wait 3 years when everything is pointing from my background and from my life to do this thing now? Did you feel like that at any point?
Every single day
Yeah.
until the day that I did it.
Yeah.
And I continue to feel that way for everything that I have upcoming,
Mm-hmm.
right? Every single thing
Yeah.
from my childhood, from PCOS, from infertility, from my own health problems, my own everything,
Mm-hmm.
every single thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? My studies in graphic design and web design and everything.
Like you
Yes.
found your purpose. You have found your calling. You have found your purpose. And that is, it gives me chills when people talk about this because I can relate to it so much. So because I know that feeling, and I want to go back to what you were saying in that confidence, that empowerment, that drive, that mindset, all of the things that you're trying to instill in other women. Those are the things that are possible. And it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you've come from, because there is a purpose to all of it, and as I get older, maybe this is maturity, maybe this is life in my, mid 30s. I don't know, but I am so acutely aware of that now, that all of these things add up to this greater purpose. And I am so proud of you and excited for you that you're following that, because it's creating abundance and knowledge for the rest of us. And I can only see this going further. So I'm going to share a story really quick. And I've already kind of talked to you a little bit about this, but so Julie Crenshaw is, for my listeners, Julie Crenshaw was on, she's the conversation coach, and she was on the podcast a few episodes back. And so if you haven't listened to that, go back, because she's amazing. She has some great tips on mom life and how to like gain back your confidence and having conversations again. And we talk about mom brain fog and things like that. But she put me in touch, and Belinda in touch, put us together in touch. Okay. Hello. Try and use my words here. Put us in touch. And I'm so grateful for her. We both are, Belinda and I both are, but I
Yes.
do a lot of research on my guests to have on the podcast, because I want to bring really high quality conversations and high quality knowledge. So I definitely don't take the opportunities lightly. I do a lot of research, and I was literally looking through, and Belinda knows this, but I was looking through her Instagram page, and I looked up her website really quickly, and I was like, yes, 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 hell yes. Okay. She's coming on. So if people are questioning this at all, like just go to her Instagram page, please. And when we're done with this, I'll put everything in the show notes, but your website is beautiful. The magazine, all of it is beautiful, and you're doing amazing work on it. One of the things that we talked about, and I want to touch on for people, if they've never seen or utilized a digital magazine, there are some amazing benefits to it besides just no paper. So can you talk about some of the benefits of a digital magazine, which I love, but maybe people don't quite understand, like, what a benefit of that is?
Sure. So obviously no paper is one huge thing.
Save the whales.
Yes. It's a huge thing, right? But
Yes,
also
yes.
one of the things that I really love about having the digital magazine is that it's clickable.
Yeah.
Right, you can get in there, and as you're reading an article, if you connect with one of the women that has written an article in there, you can click and go to her website because you want to learn more about her.
Mhm.
Or if you see like a product in there or a recipe in there that you really love and you're like, oh, I want to try that, like you can click on just about anything in that magazine, and it's going to take you to where you need to go.
Mhm.
Right. And you don't have to close up your magazine, take out your phone, go to that website or whatever, right? It's all in one place beautifully, and you never lose your place in the magazine. So that is one of my favorite things. And one other, actually two other things. I haven't utilized this yet, but I also have the ability to actually put video into the magazine,
Oh,
which is
cool. Yeah.
amazing,
Yeah.
right? Like you
Right.
will never get that on paper ever, right?
Right.
But something cool that I want to do this in a future issue, and I've been talking to another breathwork facilitator about it. I want her to be able to put like a 5-minute breathwork exercise video in the magazine,
Mhm.
right? Like that's so cool. I'm like, yeah, I can just go in there and like do this breathwork exercise and then like get a recipe to cook for tonight. That's awesome.
Yes.
So that's a really cool thing. And then the fact that like all of the magazines are just available to you, right?
Mhm.
Like they're not going to go out of print. You're not going to miss an issue, right? Because everything that is published in every issue of Woman Be Well magazine, it's not going to go out of style,
Mhm.
right? This is stuff that is going to be highly relevant to just about any woman, any time of year,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Sure, I have themes and things like that for every issue, but everything that's in there, it is evergreen.
Mhm.
So every issue is available. You just go to one spot, right?
Mhm.
You go to
Yeah.
one spot and you can see any of the issues of the magazine. So huge benefits for a digital magazine, which is really why I wanted to create it that way.
I love that because I still have a couple of print magazines that I get, and there's so many, there's articles in there, and I've kept some of these magazines. I'm better about not keeping anything now because I just know that I'm a mom of 3 kids and I'm not ever going to go back to it with the intention that I originally had. It's just not going to happen. But I do still keep a few of them because I'm like, oh, I really like this recipe, or, I really like this article, or I really wanted to go back and look this person up, but I can't just click on it and then see this person. I have to remember in my brain space that I wanted to go back and look at this person up. So I'm keeping these, they're taking up space. I'm never able to really revert back to them. So I love the accessibility of having it digital, and you're not going to lose them. You can always look an article up if you need to. So I love the idea of that. And I'm really glad you answered that question, because total transparency, like I've never really been deeply involved in any kind of digital magazine. I guess maybe old school thinking, but as I was looking through yours and as we've been talking about this, like it's so accessible. I mean, I'm like, to heck with all these other ones, let's just, everything needs to go digital. So
You
I
can
I
zoom
love
in,
that.
like you can zoom in on the
Yes.
text, right? You don't have to
Yes.
bring the thing up to
The
your
thing with,
face.
yeah. Okay. One of the things that I do want to talk about in terms of the magazine and some of the topics that you dive into, because I want to unpack a couple of the ideas that you talk about within your magazine and things that you do help women with. And one of them that I haven't really mentioned or talked about on the podcast is ditching the diet, the toxic diet. So toxic and damaging diets, can you dive into that a little bit and tell me what you mean by that and how you address that?
Sure. So there's actually I'm going to say like two major facets to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
One, there's the physical aspect of it, where I often talk about, and this especially around New Year's and resolutions, right? Because it's like everyone and their mother is making a resolution to lose weight this year.
I
And it drives
said,
me nuts.
yes, I
Yeah.
said in my New Year's episode, for the love of God, please do not make your New Year's resolution about losing weight. If you want to create a healthy lifestyle, boom, go do that. If you want to like add some physical movement, boom, go do that. But for the love of God, don't make it about a number on the scale. Please, I beg you.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
continue.
Yeah. So I am with you on that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I say. I'm always like, listen, weight loss is not wellness. Just because you lost 10 pounds or whatever doesn't mean that you're actually well, doesn't mean that you're actually healthy. right? And this is coming from someone who had very severely disordered eating for many years. I did, because I always thought that I needed to weigh less. I used to look at pictures of myself when I weighed my absolute least, and I had no business weighing that little. And I would still think to myself, wow, I still need to lose weight, right? So the physical aspect of that is, we're often taught that it's about diet and exercise, right? Counting calories, right? These things, it drives me nuts, because diet and exercise, when you think of the word diet, and Julie's going to love this, because this is about the words that we use and the power and the weight that these words have, no pun intended. Diet, diet often means restriction, right? It means that come Monday, you can't eat the carbs, you can't eat the cookies, you can't eat whatever, right? That's what a diet is. Diet starts Monday means I won't be able to eat all the things. Exercise, we often think it has to be done like in a gym. It's got to be cardio. It's got to be, it's got to be hard. You have to be sweating. You have to do this. You have to do that. It's not fun. And it's purely meant to offset calories, right? And so diet and exercise means you're putting less fuel in your tank, but you're expecting to drive further, right? You're expecting more of your body, and yet you're fueling it less. And every single time that will set you up for failure. Every time, right? If you put less gas in your car, it's not going to drive any further.
Yeah,
right?
it's not sustainable.
And so,
yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's not sustainable at all. Counting, and I say counting calories is crap. All it means is that you're stuck doing math every time you eat. It sucks. Right. So that's the physical aspect of it. The mental part of it. And this is the stuff that I like to get deep into this stuff, because again, I had disordered eating for a very, very long time. Now, it wasn't just about trying to attain a certain number on a scale, right? It was about what I thought would make me happy and what I thought would make me feel beautiful and worthy of love, right? And so I thought to myself, because I was in a very bad relationship when I was going through all of this as well. And I thought to myself, well, if I just weighed less and I looked more like the woman on the cover of that magazine, he would treat me better. He would love me more, right? And so it wasn't just about that number. There's a mindset about it too. And so that's a really big thing to think about, right? Because for me, it was not a weight loss crisis. It was a soul crisis, right? And I think to the root of it, that is what it is for a lot of women, right? We think that we're supposed to have a certain figure, we're supposed to weigh a certain amount, and then we're going to be beautiful and butterflies all around us, and the world's going to be great, right? But guess what? You decide how great your world is from the inside out. And so that's, I love talking about that. Thank you for bringing that up, because that's a very big thing to me, right? That it is one of the like one of the reasons why Woman Be Well exists, right? And it is something that I'm clearly very passionate about, but I also have experience with. Very personal experience with. So
So I have a challenge that I've put together called the Mama Mindset Reset Challenge, #MMR challenge. And on the challenge, one of the aspects, because I don't have another word for it, is it's a free challenge that I put out there, and it's a diet of your choice. But in my podcast, I go in deeper in saying you don't need to choose a fad diet that is not healthy. What I mean by diet is, what is your healthy eating plan going to be? When I say diet, I mean, what are you eating and how are you eating it? It's not counting your macros. It's not restricting your calories. It's, instead of a Kit Kat bar today, you're maybe going to eat a salad. like what is your diet of choice going to be in terms of healthy eating, but not, keto.
Diet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So what are your thoughts on that? I'm curious from a personal standpoint, like how would you word that differently, or how would you talk about that differently? Because I've counted my macros and I freaking hated it. It was stupid. It was freaking stupid. Every aspect of it. The only thing that I will say that was positive, it was eye-opening that I did need to eat more. That was what was super interesting about it, is I wasn't eating enough. But other than that, keeping track of it, writing everything down, being so anxious about trying to eat the right thing or enough of this or whatever was not intuitive to me. It was very forced. It was so much work and it was not sustainable. How is a mom of 3 kids? And if moms can do it, like, okay, but I just genuinely don't believe it's sustainable. So like I've done the calorie counting and the macros and it sucked. So what are your thoughts around, diet, but not in terms of like a specific fad diet? Can you dive into that a little bit?
Absolutely. So first off, when we think of diet, right? Again, this is a word thing, right? Because now we're like programmed to think that a diet means restriction, right? And so when I talk about diet and exercise, I actually don't talk about diet and exercise. I talk about nutrition and movement.
Okay.
Right.
Nutrition. Yeah.
Because nutrition, you're talking about nourishment. You're talking about getting the right things, right? You're not talking about taking anything out, counting anything. It's just, what does your body actually need, right? In order to feel nourished. And so those are 2 very big vocabulary changes that I know I've talked to Miss Julie Crenshaw about, because, she is huge on words. And so nutrition and movement, right? The other thing that I absolutely tell every single woman is that if you want the cookie, eat the cookie. If you want a salad, eat the salad. The moment you tell yourself you cannot have something, you want it even more, right? It's human nature. It's human nature. So I really like to focus on nutrition that is inclusive, right? Not restricting, inclusive. Because once you put pressure around things that you cannot eat or things that are bad for you, then you create that weird power struggle where you're like, I want to eat this thing, but I shouldn't eat this thing, but I can't eat this thing. And you're going to continue to focus on that thing instead of nutrition, and this is my favorite way to do it. This is how I do it. And this is how I am working. I like teach my son how to do it, but I'm not like teaching him. We just count colors, right? Because he loves his colors. And we count colors. So how many fruits and vegetables in various colors can you get throughout the day, right? Try to get one of each color. There's no counting calories. There's no weighing. There's no macros. There's no nothing. Like just try and get your colors in, right? And as long as you have a foundation that is built on the colors,
yes,
then put whatever else on top of it you want, right? But I really focus on having inclusive nutrition, so that you don't feel deprived, right? And not counting calories, because food is not numbers, right? When we count calories, what happens is we're not focusing on quality, we're focusing on quantity. And you will never be able to tell me that 100 calories of donuts looks the same or has the same reaction in your body as 100 calories of apples.
Right.
Sure, they're both 100 calories, but they look very different and they act very differently in your body. Sometimes you want the 100-calorie donut. Sometimes you want the 100 calories of apples. That's fine. Right? So that's my take on it.
Hey, sweet mama, I just wanted to remind you about an incredible opportunity to take these conversations one step further, to find like-minded women who want to dive deeper and pursue the things that they're interested in order to best raise our future generation. And that is with my Mama Mindset Tribe Facebook group. You can find the link in the show notes below. If you haven't already joined the group, I highly encourage you to do so. This is a free resource where you can ask questions, seek guidance, look for help, celebrate the wins of the mindset shifts that you've had, the 1% changes that you had in up-leveling your life, big things, little things, all of it. I want to celebrate all of it. I want to share all of it. We're going to ask some big questions and some participation opportunities. So if you haven't already done so, please head on over. The link is in the show notes below and join the Mama Mindset Tribe on Facebook. I look forward to having you join our tribe. Yeah. And if you can shift the mindset around that being food as medicine, then when you know you're having rough days, you're going to know like the Cheetos is going to feel good temporarily, but it's not what my body really truly needs right now. So maybe in those decisions, because you have knowledge around the fact that food is medicine, maybe you say, I actually think what I need right now is apple or something for a snack. And then the next day, if you're feeling good and you're like, oh man, those Cheetos look so good, then and you're getting the kids some for lunch, then have a handful of Cheetos. Yes. I love that. And I struggle with the challenge, just kind of, being really vulnerable and going out there, because I don't want people to get caught up in this idea of diet and the fact that you have to drastically change what you're doing in order to be healthy, I guess. Like a few small tweaks and a few small changes and appropriate decisions where they need to be really all add up. And I want to go back to something also you were talking about. Instead of exercise, you were talking about movement and that and workouts and things like that. And I do use the term workout. However, I also use intentional movement. So another aspect of the challenge is an outdoor intentional movement, outdoor. I think I say workout just because of the word. It's shorter than intentional movement to get it all in. But when I go into it in the podcast saying it's intentional movement, I don't care what you do. You go for a walk. I'm not saying you have to go outside and do CrossFit. I just want you to be outside because of the benefits of your body being outside in nature. But my workout shift, my mindset has shifted around workouts. Let me reword that drastically in the last few years, because I grew up playing high active sports. I was a sprinter. I played basketball, I played volleyball, and those are very high active, high energy sports. So I was always like, go, go, go. So I always thought that working out, I had to bust my ass. I had to hate it to grow. And there is a part of that builds mental toughness and resilience. I will say that there is something about doing something challenging that's great, but there's also something so beautiful about something as simple as a walk, or as simple and, I shouldn't say simple, but less impacting on your body as yoga, or, just doing some things that are more intentional and mindful and things that you love to do. If you love to do CrossFit and be part of that community, then do something that you love to do, but you don't have to do it to look a certain way. And that is a huge shift for me, in that what I needed, and I know that yoga isn't for everyone and people probably get tired of me talking about it, but I'm just going to say it again. If this is anybody's first time listening, I got to get them here. But for me, it was a holistic approach that I needed without the knowledge of even what holistic meant. But I just knew intuitively that I needed to do something in my soul, for my mind and my body. I needed to slow down. I needed to breathe, and I needed some space. And I hated yoga, hated it. It wasn't fast enough. I wasn't sweating enough. I wasn't push enough. And it's something that I've come to learn is actually what I really need. And then there's times where I'm like, I have a lot of energy and I need to hop on the spin bike, or I need to lift some weights or something, like I need to do something else. But there's so much more intuitiveness behind that than just doing something that is so restricting or so forceful because that's what culture is telling us that we need to do right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So what are some things that you suggest for, like, in your magazine, or what do you talk about for movement? Like, what do you suggest for women that they do that helps them align with what they're trying to accomplish?
I'm just like you in that I say, whatever it is that makes you feel good,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the movement is, right? It could be yoga. It could be running on a treadmill. It could be going for a walk outside. It could
Mm-hmm.
be dancing around your kitchen. I don't care what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just move your body in a way that makes you feel vibrant, in a
Mm-hmm.
way that makes you feel energized,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't care what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I personally love yoga, but I didn't always, right? I didn't
Yes, that's
always
how
love
I am.
yoga.
Yep.
Yeah, but I love it now. I
Mm-hmm.
also used to be the kind of person that felt like I had to be profusely sweating if I was working out. Otherwise, I was doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
No, 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 not true, right? Not
Yes.
true. And for me, it is purely about what actually makes me feel better about my body, what makes me feel vibrant, what makes me feel energized. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times it is just dancing around the kitchen
Mm-hmm.
with my son, right?
Mm-hmm.
As he's like dancing with whatever show he's watching,
Mm-hmm.
I dance with him. And yeah, my heart rate gets up and sometimes I break a sweat, and that's awesome. But really, it's just bringing me joy.
Right.
So, whatever it is, do that thing. And then there's other little things to just like get you moving throughout the day. And they talk about, there's like things like just take the stairs sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Park a little bit further away from the entrance of whatever store you're going to, just so you can like get your body moving.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So little things like that. And it's like, I've worked with women before and they have said to me, like, thank you so much for making me feel like I didn't have to completely overhaul everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I don't have to make extreme changes in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You don't, like,
Right.
just you can park a little further. You can like take the stairs instead of the elevator, or
Right.
just like little things, and they start to add up, which is what you were saying, right? Like making little changes really starts to add up.
Yes.
So yeah, that's how I feel about movement for sure. Just do whatever your jam is, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes I actually like running on a treadmill.
Right. Right.
And I do it.
If that brings you joy, I mean, I know a lot of women. I have friends that are runners and they love it. They love that runner's high. It feels so good for them. So I think that's what's important. Like I was saying, like CrossFit, like if you love the community behind CrossFit because of how it makes you feel and what you're doing, then that's great. But going back to what we were saying about New Year's resolutions, don't do it because you feel like you need to look a certain way or the scale needs to change. Do you think, I'm going to ask, like, I'm trying to think of how I want to word this, but when we talk about losing weight and we say, don't make it about the number, there is a time that people do need to lose weight, right? They're overweight. However, I think that the shift in mindset and the shift in thinking about it is that you don't have to focus on the number, but it's about what are you doing in your life to create a healthy lifestyle. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Because there are people, I'm just thinking like people are going to be like, are you kidding me? That guy's 200 pounds overweight. And of course they need to lose weight. So what would your response be to that?
Yep. So I just wrote an article for Elephant Journal. And it's the title of it is, excuse my French, but it is New Year, New You is for basic bitches.
Yeah, no.
And it's ruining your health.
Curse all you want on my podcast. Yes.
So that was the title of it. Right.
Yes.
And I talked about a lot of the things that we just talked about, how weight loss is not wellness, and diet and exercise and things like that. And in there, I say, okay, play devil's advocate, because I know there are people that are thinking just like you said,
Right.
yeah, there's definitely some people that probably would end up being healthier if they lost some weight.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing about weight loss and how much you weigh. That's only indicator,
Mm-hmm.
one indicator of health. And really, it's not even the best indicator of health.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. What really matters is how you feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
How energetic do you feel? Can you get up and walk around comfortably,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, quite honestly, the consistency of your poop is a better indicator of your health than your weight.
Right.
Right. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I say. It's like, listen, don't focus on that number, because if you focus on the other things that actually matter,
Mm-hmm.
if you in fact do need to shed some weight because your body will be in a more optimal place, then
Mm-hmm.
that will happen as a result of addressing how you feel, right?
Right.
Eating in a way that actually makes you feel well,
Mm-hmm.
sleeping in a way that makes you feel rested, well rested, recovered, so that you can have the energy that you need throughout the day. There are so many other indicators of health, and
Mm-hmm.
weight is just one of them. So that's
Mm-hmm.
what I say, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I say, because I'm like, yeah, sure. Okay, the person who needs to lose a few pounds, great. But what I'm interested in is, how far can they walk before their joints start to hurt?
Right.
Right. And like I said, like the consistency of your poop, or how often are you going? Those are
Mm-hmm.
things that I actually care way more about than the number on the scale.
Mm-hmm. And I think as we're talking about this, and I haven't ever really brought this up in podcasts, and this wasn't necessarily my intent of where this was going to go as I bring this up, but I think it's very, very valid for what we're going through right now with the pandemic. And this is something that a lot of people aren't talking about, but it's your overall health surrounding COVID. And so I want to say that it is so important to really take a look at your lifestyle and your health and how you're feeling with a pandemic going on, because that's not being talked about enough. Like, a great way to start, a great step forward in protecting yourself is by treating yourself well and by making healthy choices and having this holistic approach to healing your body and building up strength within your body to fight off COVID. And people aren't talking about that. I mean, is that something that you feel strongly about? I mean, what are your thoughts about that? I haven't brought this up, by the way, in the podcast at all, but I do think it's worth talking about. More people are starting to mention it, but with health and wellness and the things that you're talking about within your magazine, I think it's a really important aspect. I also think it's really interesting that your magazine came out in the midst of COVID, like during the pandemic. So what are your thoughts about that?
Absolutely. I mean, whether you don't even have to be talking about COVID, right? We could talk
Yeah.
about any kind of bug out there.
Right.
You have to fortify your system, right? You've got to fortify your own natural defenses
Yeah.
in order to ward off anything, whether it is COVID, a cold, the flu, whatever it is, right? Any kind of invader.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, you have to take care of yourself. And yes, it's your immune system, but also your mental health, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very important. And all of this is connected, even with the health of your gut, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Because I'm a bit of a gut health geek, and I don't want to get too much into it, but the health of your gut is connected to your mental health. It is connected to your immune system, all of that, right? I mean, I don't think that people truly realize how connected your entire body is.
Right. Yeah.
It really is, right? And someone asked me the other day, like, really, how connected is your brain to the rest of your body, and your gut? And I said, do you really think that the thoughts that you have don't affect your body?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer was kind of like, well, yeah, I kind of do think that the thoughts that I have aren't a big deal. And I say to myself, okay, what is your favorite food? right? And I got this person thinking, what is your favorite food? And they're like, oh, whatever, some kind of ice cream or whatever it was. And I was like, okay, just think about it. Imagine that you have a bowl of that right in front of you right now. Tell me what is happening, right? And they're like, well, I don't know. I'm just thinking about it. And I'm like, is your mouth starting to water? Do you suddenly feel hungry? Right? And I'm like, do
Yes.
you see how you just had a thought, but it made a physical change in your body? So that right there, you really have to realize that the thoughts that you have, they have an effect on your entire body. So fully connected. And it is definitely, it's so important to make sure that all of our systems, all of our, various aspects of health are in a good place, right? Because when one of them is not, you've suddenly got a hole in your armor, right? So yeah, very, very important. And the holistic part of it, right? Like not just like losing weight or whatever, but really fortifying all of your defenses, your mind, your physical health and all of that stuff. Very important, especially now.
So I want to I want to go back to something that you said earlier, and it was basically what you were saying. We were talking about Western medicine and using plants as medicine, and Western medicine is only been around for a very short period of time compared to all of the other different types of medicines, Eastern medicine practices, plant-based medicine, things like that. So can you touch on that a little bit and dive into that a little bit deeper? Because, I think so often when we get a headache, we just reach for Tylenol, and I have nothing against Tylenol. I'll just kind of preface this by saying we try and find balance in our household. I understand that there's a benefit to Western medicine, but we also try other approaches first as well. I also have a friend that is a big fan of like tinctures, and she makes things like that. So can you talk about that a little bit, and maybe this idea of Western medicine and kind of how long that's been around and just the difference, I guess?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm very much like you, where there is definitely a benefit and there is a place for Western medicine, right? Like if I have a headache, I'm going to take the ibuprofen or whatever, right? But also I'm going to try to get to the root of the problem.
Yes.
So for me, when I think of Western medicine, I think of, just helping me in the moment, right? It can help relieve my symptoms in the moment. But if I don't get to the root of what is actually causing my headache, then I'm just going to keep getting headaches, right? You're not actually helping yourself. You're putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg, right? If that's all that you're doing. So I will take the ibuprofen, but then I'll go and make sure I've had enough water to drink, or I will get up and move, like I'll get my blood flowing because maybe that's what I need. And so I'll do something, but then, and the example that I like to give when I talk about like my grandma and my mom was like when I would have a stomach ache when I was a kid, there was either, like some kind of pill to take or drink this ginger tea.
Yeah.
And I'm picking the ginger tea every time, right? Because it tastes much better. But also the thing about like having something like ginger is that it works with your body's own natural ability to heal itself. And this is what I say about plants is that, when you ingest these healing plants, they're not doing the healing for you. They're reminding your body how to heal itself. And I think that is the biggest difference between Western medicine and a lot of, the traditional, Eastern traditional medicines that I have learned through, Filipino culture is that one is, yes, going to help your symptoms, right? But it is like a hard and fast, this is what it's going to do no matter what. The other thing is it's going to work with your body, right? To heal itself. And so they're two very different things, right? And I think that they can work together, right?
Yes.
They can absolutely work together. Someone
Mhm.
asked me the other day, well, what do you do when you have like sinus issues? Right. And I said, well, first I take a decongestant
Mhm.
to try
Yeah.
and dry the stuff up. But then, I'll like do some essential oils and I'll do like a steam, a facial for myself to help keep that stuff clear and, all of that stuff. And so I'm like, you can couple the things together.
Right.
Right.
And I think they're more
Um,
powerful that way. I
yeah.
truly think that they are much more powerful when you couple them that way. And then one of the examples that I have is headaches. If I have a headache, yes, I'm going to take Tylenol, but I'm also going to put on my essential oils. I'm going to use my heating pad. I'm going to do some yoga stretches, and I'm going to schedule an appointment with my massage therapist, because I know that the Tylenol is going to be something that I'm going to have to continuously take unless I get it fixed, unless I figure out the root cause of the problem, which oftentimes for me is tension. And I just know that, but that's taken time. So going back to your magazine, what I love about the magazine and what you're able to bring is that I'm just sitting here thinking, like, as a mom or a woman that has no idea what we're talking about, has no idea where to even start. I'm super overwhelmed. You're telling me I have to learn about plants and how they affect my body and learn about all these things. But that's the point of the magazine. That's the point that you're trying to get across to people is, you don't want to have people go out and do tons and tons and tons of research. Like, here's a one-stop shop for a very holistic approach. And, we'll gradually build on that. And if you're more curious about this, then you click on this link of this expert that we interviewed, or you click on this recipe and you try it, or, it allows you to dive a little bit deeper, but also have some of those, I don't want to say surface level, but like introductions to this holistic approach because, oh my goodness, if you Google some of this, you're going to come down a freaking rabbit hole. And what I don't want is women to get so overwhelmed by some of the things that we're talking about. I mean, this is your business, right? This is what you're certified in. This is what you've really spent a lot of time educating yourself on. So I don't expect people to know what you know. And I've kind of learned through life experience and then just talking to people and things like that, but I'm by no means an expert. And if people are just starting out, like, a couple steps below that, even, like, that's the purpose of the magazine is very approachable.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
we definitely wanted to create a very accessible and easy to digest magazine,
Yeah.
right? Like we have very like high level tips in there, right?
Mhm.
Just like you said, it's meant to be really easy to consume. And wellness looks different for every woman. Try something.
Mhm.
If it works, great. If it's not for you, no problem, right?
Mhm.
No problem. It's you've got options. It's really about building a toolbox that works for you. Having that toolbox and being able to go and find the thing that's going to work for you and just try it and stick with it if it works. And if it doesn't, take it out of your toolbox and move on to the next thing. No problem.
Yeah.
Right.
But take that step forward and try and give it a little bit of time. And then if it doesn't align for whatever reason, if it doesn't feel right, if you don't enjoy it, then move on. Absolutely.
Mhm.
I love that. So, Belinda, what are some of the things that you have coming up? Is there, because you had talked to me and mentioned a group that you were maybe going to put together. So could you take a minute and talk about that?
Sure. So I'm working on putting together a private wellness support group that I would like to put together for women,
Mm-hmm.
because I know that like there's just so many questions out there, right? And I want to create a space where women can just like come right out with whatever question they have,
Mm-hmm.
right? And feel supported and feel seen,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of the questions that we have about our health, I mean, you're not the only one dealing with it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I think that just having this group available to women, where we can come and we can talk, and I can share a lot of the great juicy stuff that is being published in the magazine, and continue to share a lot of the things that even I'm still continuing to learn, because I am always learning new things, and there's always new research coming out on all kinds of, wonderful, power of plants and things that can help your mental state and all kinds of things,
Mhm.
that I think it's really important for women to stay up on, and they don't have to do what I do, right? I can like really boil it down to the core benefits and just get that information out there. So this is a space that I'm going to be creating, and when I do, all of that is going to be announced on my Instagram. So definitely keep an eye out on that space,
Okay.
for that support group to come out.
And what's your Instagram? I'll put it in the show notes below too, at the end of
Yeah, the
at the end of the
Instagram, it's
episode.
it's at Woman Be Well. So
Okay.
remember, B with two E's.
Mhm.
And then the magazine has its own as well, and that's at womanbewell.mag, MAG. So
Okay.
both of those places, get in touch with me. I'm really nice, I promise. Come say hi.
And your
Um,
Instagram is it's so helpful. And if people are following my podcast, I know that they're going to love what you're putting together, because it really, I feel like my goal behind the podcast is to open up these conversations, to say there's other options out there, and there's kind of this, like you said, like this whole with holistic way of living your life, to live the life that you want to live, to make you the best mother possible and the best female possible, and help us build better communities. And but we have to do that with ourselves. And then lovely, amazing women like you who are the experts in some of these other topics. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to like chat about this on the surface and then send you over to Belinda for more information. So your Instagram is beautiful. You're doing amazing work with it. And I'm really excited to see where the magazine goes and how you grow it, because the energy behind what you're doing is inspiring. And so I just know that you're going to take this and do really well with it. How is this affecting? I want to ask you like one other quick question. How is this affecting motherhood for you? Is this new transition overwhelming at times? Is it super powerful and you feel like better than ever at times? Or, how is that affecting it? Because you have a 2.5-year-old. He's busy. He's a busy boy.
yeah. Yep. You know what? It's a mixed bag,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Some days I feel overwhelmed. Those are few and far between.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And most of the time I just make sure I have time for my son,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, and a lot of the things that I'm learning and that I'm teaching, because it makes me feel so good about myself,
Mm-hmm.
it helps me be a better mom,
Mm-hmm.
because being able to share this and being able to have the community that I have with the magazine and upcoming support group and all of these things, they just make me feel very aligned within myself and very much at peace and like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So it helps me do what I'm supposed to be doing outside of that too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, when I'm not overwhelmed, which
Yes.
rarely happens, you know what, it's really great. It's really great to have it. And I cannot imagine what the heck I would be doing if I was not doing this with Woman Be Well right now. So I'm very, very thankful for any of the kinds of days that I have, whether they are overwhelming or super productive, or days where I get to connect with amazing women just like you. I'm thankful for them all.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that. Yes. And we all have that balance, right? We all have those, I mean, sometimes polarizing days, days of overwhelm and days where you're like, I totally kicked ass today and I'm
Mhm.
awesome. So that's life. And I love that this is bringing inspiration to you and filling your cup, which is helping you in motherhood, even on days of overwhelm. It's spreading, and I love the abundance that it's spreading to others. So thank you for coming on today, Belinda. I really enjoyed my chat with you. And if anybody wants to follow you, I'll put all of your contact information and website in the show notes below. So thank you so much. I'll probably have you back on again sometime. So
I would love to. I would love to. This has been amazing, Amy. I'm so glad that we connected. And I'll come on your show anytime you want. I love it. This has been
that's
so
perfect.
amazing. Thank
That's
you so
perfect.
much.
Yes, absolutely. We'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, sweet mama. Thank you so much for joining me in this conversational journey with Belinda, talking about Woman Be Well magazine and all of her holistic approaches to women's health. I really appreciate you joining us today. If you found value in this conversation, I highly encourage you to go follow her on Instagram to stay up to date with her. She also has a newsletter, by the way, but to stay up to date with her newsletters, what's going on with the magazine, I encourage you to sign up for the magazine, but also to share this. Share this on your Instagram page, share it in your stories, tag us in your stories so we can help spread awareness. We can help Belinda grow her magazine as well, because her magazine is an incredible resource for women who are wanting to dive a little bit deeper in this and really have some trustworthy information that can deeply impact their lives, that can deeply improve their lives. So please give us a like and a share today. Don't forget to subscribe to my podcast. And as always, thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to talking to you all again very soon.